Working hard isn't the same as working aligned.
It isn't? No, you're right. That being said, in this episode 4 of Pivot on Purpose, we explore the moment when productivity shifts from human effort to divine partnership.
So if you've been faithful but still feel exhausted or stuck, this episode will help you understand how alignment invites God into the process.
Okay, Dr. Stacy, that sounds good to me. Let's get started.
Let's get started.
Hi, this is Dr. John Stanko, and this is my sidekick.
Dr. Stacy Merida.
And a sidekick is in no way derogatory. This is a partnership, and it's only the beginning. I'm looking forward. The best is yet to come. Pretty cool glasses and a watch, but that's part of your purpose, branding. I mean, this is what you help people do, isn't it?
That's true. And I decided now it's time to brand me.
Interesting point. And because we all have a brand, the uniqueness that we have is in our purpose.
That's true.
So I 20 some years ago, I'll reach in my pocket here. I have this is not a commercial, but I like Mont Blanc pens. I don't know why, I just like the way they feel. Now this, as you can see, is usually they're black, but this is a color one. 20 some years ago, I was in Dallas, Texas, and I thought they only made black pens, and I'm with a pastor, and he has one of these, it's orange. And I said, "What is that, a Mont Blanc?" He said, "It is." I said, "Oh, I love Mont Blanc and I love orange." He handed it to me.
Amazing.
He said, "Here, take this." And I said, "No, I can't." He said, "No, at our age, if you like something that much, you should have it." Now, the reason I tell that is orange is my favorite color. But I realized, Stacy, I didn't have one thing that was orange in any of my possessions.
Wow.
Because orange isn't manly, orange isn't cool. Orange doesn't go with whatever my thinking was. I didn't have anything orange. And so I've written articles. I like orange because the very thing, it's who I am. You know how unique we are. That each of us has a favorite color. Each of us has a favorite shape. I mean, and so I was denying that part of myself. Now, don't tell anybody. I have about 20 pens.
Are they all in orange?
I won't travel with the orange because I have lost one or two, and I go immediately on eBay and find another one. But my point is, I love it. So so then I go on the search and destroy mission. Where else am I limiting myself, telling myself who I am is irrational or doesn't make sense, or I should be something or someone else. And I does that make sense?
It totally makes sense.
So you're branding yourself.
Yeah.
So how would you brand yourself? Colorful?
I'm still in the process of finding what is all uniquely me. So there's an outward part of the brand, but then there's internal branding as well. I used to get paid to brand people, but I never branded myself. I was, if I showed up anywhere, I probably had on a baseball hat, and usually black was a uniform color of, the industry. It wasn't about me. It was about who I was promoting and marketing. And my self-worth and my appreciation came is if they went platinum, gold, records as in sales, back in the day, or their names are in lights at some of the different theaters, that was my success. That's how I quietly celebrated. Well, that's great. Now, quote, I'm stepping up to the plate. It's my turn. I didn't pick this, but this is the evolution of my purpose.
Yeah.
So now it's like, well, you've done this for everybody else. Now it's time to do it for yourself.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're a woman of faith.
Absolutely.
That message can
Yeah.
Don't pay attention to self.
Yes,
Don't be
yes.
proud. Don't
Right.
be arrogant.
Yes.
Don't be conceited.
Yes. all of the above.
So we see people all the time throwing themselves away. You know, they're really blurring their distinctiveness. You know that, and it's not them doing it; it's God or it's a higher power.
Right.
But we've to some extent we're coming out of that. We're doing something different, aren't we?
Absolutely. Because I walked in that, it's like, oh, you got to be humble. You got to
Mm-hmm.
always exercise humility.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times we would just disappear.
Mm.
We were invisible. And that's not what we're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Embrace who you are, embrace who you're called to be, celebrate that. How
Yeah.
are people going to be attracted to you for you to even help them or participate if they don't even know you are there? They're not aware of you.
Mm.
So I'm not saying I'm going to walk around with 15-inch heels on to get attention, color my hair pink or anything like that. It's like, no, I'm going to be authentically me.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is I'm still in the discovery phase of that, even at my advanced age.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let people put me in a box anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I was always conscious of people saying, oh, well, you shouldn't do this. And if you're from this place or that place, you shouldn't look like this. You shouldn't look like that. I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm smart enough to know how to be excellent in what I do. And but I'm still going to be happy and be authentically me, or else I'm doing a disservice to my purpose.
Wow, that is so good. And it's so important for our listeners and our viewers to grasp that. I was in Cuba years ago, and somebody walked up to me in Santiago airport. He's going like this. I said, I said, do I know you? I usually ask people, I said, do I owe you money? You know, so, and if they say no, then I say, oh, then,
okay.
I'm probably who you think I. But I said, do I know you? Can I help you? He said, you're John Stanko, aren't you? And I said to him, I said, yes, and I wish more people knew it. You know, because I said, because I have a message that I think can help people. I'm part of the message. It's not just a detached message. It's me. It's my vocabulary. It's my experience. It's been entrusted to me.
Yes.
It's now I'm a steward of it. I don't own it, but at the
Right.
same time, I'm a part of it. Then he said to me, I said, how do we know one another? He said, I've not been to Cuba. He said, well, I'm from Los Angeles. He said, I heard you teach at Jack Hayford's church. And he went on to tell me my purpose message.
Wow.
Just in a minute,
Yeah.
boom, boom. And I thought, wow, really good. He walks away, and I realized, that was 7 or 8 years ago. And he remembered my message
Amazing.
point by point. I didn't have books then. I was just doing the presentation. But in his mind, I was a part of the message. And so I thought, I do have a role to play in this. I shouldn't be egocentric, egomaniac, but I do have an ego. There is an I. This is who God made me to be.
Exactly.
So therefore, I shouldn't hide that. And we see some religions cover all personality. They dress the same, or they cover every body part. And Christianity is the only part that personality is displayed. And it is an important part. It's not just who wrote it, but if St. Thomas Aquinas wrote it, or St. Augustine wrote it, or Martin Luther wrote it, or Pope Benedict XIV, or whoever was the one writing it, adds credibility to the insight and to the message. So that's why I wanted to raise the issue of you, and you're doing the work of discovering who you are.
So I can help others discover who they are.
So you're leading the way.
I have to be a participant.
Because to me, it adds moral authority to our message if we're living it.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise, again, we're just presenting truths, and they're truths.
They are.
And people can receive them, and they can walk in them. But when we put some power behind it, because this is who I am, this is what I've written, this is where I go, this is who I do, this is what I do, this is so important, to go along with the purpose message. Now this, we wanted to talk a little bit about productivity. We talked about that in the last session, very formal sounding word, but you were talking about committed. That's what the bottom line was for you, and I totally agree. All in,
All in.
I'm all in. I'm
Yep.
not no plan
Yep.
B.
Yep.
This is what's before me to do. But productivity requires purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It means what we're saying. You've got to be true to who you are.
That's
You've
right.
got to be functioning,
Mm-hmm.
and with all that you have,
Mm-hmm.
and bringing it all to the forefront.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
Well, I want to go back and refer to a story that you did in an earlier podcast about the lady in Africa. She was
Hmm.
just, I want to work with my hands. I
Yeah,
don't want to
I
work
want
in
to
dirt.
dirt.
That
Yep.
was just true.
Hmm.
And then from that, it kept expanding and growing. She started with a small little area of land,
Hmm.
and then it kept multiplying. Her space got bigger and bigger. She stayed true to what she was talking
Mm.
about, working the dirt with her
Hmm.
hands. And then from there, it grew into literally an international business. But she stayed true.
Mm.
That's that
Hmm.
productivity with a purpose. Her purpose stayed true. She participated in the productivity of it, which she was committed to. And from that,
Mm.
now she's an international
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
That's a great example. That's it in an applied state.
Mm.
Great example.
Yeah. For early years of traveling, in the paper trail days, you would on the plane get a Visa card that you would fill out and present to customs
Mm-hmm.
passport control when you landed. Well, I was, I would administrator, pastor, consultant, a college professor. I would because it would ask what's your
Mm-hmm.
occupation.
Mm-hmm.
I was going into England and I wrote author. I'd never written author on the front. And the peace of God came up. I mean, it's like, oh, I am an author. I think at that time I'd written 10 or 15 books. I am an author. Now, you've been to England, and they're not the cheeriest of people sometimes, especially at passport control. So I go up and I present to the passport official my card, and he says, author, what do you write? Hey, they had never engaged me before in any kind of discussion. I said, well, I've written some leadership books. I've written some devotionals, some faith-based things. He said, in fact, I said, in my briefcase, and I never travel with my books, but I just happened to have one. And I said, you can have it if you want. Now, I thought he was going to turn it back, that he wouldn't be allowed. He took it.
Wow.
And he said, thank you. And he let me in. Now, what's my point? The point is, I had never said who I was. I took a woman to Kenya, not by ourselves. She was part of a group. And she had lost, in 5 years, her son was murdered. A year later, 2 of his children die in a house fire. A year later, her husband dies of a broken heart. Then she has a nephew who's murdered. And then she has a grandson who's incarcerated for a minor crime for a lot of years, and at 24 dies of cancer in prison. So she went to Kenya with me, and she cried for 2 weeks, and but she came home, and she said she lost 50 pounds. She said, I stopped self-medicating on wine, and so the next year she went back with me, and she raised all her money, but she said, I still don't do Christmas or things. It's just too painful. I said, well, tell people to give you money for your trip. She said, well, I already have my money. I said, well, raise the money. I said, there are widows over there that you can give the money to. She went over, and she had raised some money. She gave it to the widows. And Stacy, she came over, what she said to me, I never considered myself a widow.
Wow.
Now, she was.
Mm-hmm.
She had her husband died, but I never thought that I was. When I gave the money to the widows, that's when, so like my author story, she was a widow. She goes home, she starts a nonprofit organization, she raises all this money, and now in the city where she lives, she takes care of, if she hears a widow needs a roof, she gets them a roof. If they need a gift card, and she gives money to my work in Kenya for the orphans, for the widows they're working with there. All because
Found her purpose.
she was, I'm a widow.
I'm a widow.
And I'm supposed to help take care of other widows all be darned. She said, I never
Never thought
saw
about
it.
that.
And so that's the power of purpose. It's what
It
we
is.
call
Yeah.
the aha moments.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it's through your pain, not to get into that next one, but sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you have to experience it in order to relate
Mm-hmm.
and know how to navigate out of something or into something to help others do the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's that lived experience.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so it all means something.
it does.
Every piece of our past
Yep.
means something. So what recently? I mean, you've what new insights, fresh insights into yourself? I mean,
Hmm.
we've talked about the branding and the fact
Mm-hmm.
that you never branded,
Mm-hmm.
yourself when you were branding everybody
Mm-hmm.
else. You're making a transition, not necessarily out of academia, but you're not actively involved right now.
Right.
Motherhood. I mean, what are some more of the more recent insights that you've had into yourself?
Hmm. Well, first of all, I gave myself permission to rest
Mm,
because I've been working since what, 14 years old.
wow.
Never,
About
never
20 years?
stopped.
That's not
Yeah,
that long.
thank you very
Yeah.
much. Right, right. You don't see it in gray.
Yeah.
Thanks, Miss Clairol. Anyway, yeah. So it's like let me just rest for a
Mm,
moment, and in that time that we talked about that neutral zone, all these great ideas and opportunities have come, are
mm,
being presented. But what I have just recently discovered within the last 24 hours, the power of no.
mm.
And it's okay. I don't have to
Explain.
apologize for
Explain.
that. There was a situation or opportunity that presented itself, sounded wonderful.
Mm,
But I now know my value. I know my worth.
mm,
And so I don't have to allow someone else to tell me, yes, we want to have you, but we can only pay this. It's like, then you don't want me.
mm,
Because with my experience, what I've been able to do, what I know I'm supposed to be doing, you will devalue that work. And I'm not going to devalue God like that.
mm-hmm,
It's worth something. And there are people out there who will pay for it. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not me being egotistical, but
mm-hmm,
you do have to know your worth,
mm,
or else you can spend your time not being effective, not touching the people or the systems that you need to touch, because you're over here in a situation where you're not being productive. That's usually when you're going to have the misery, like, oh my God, I'm not being fulfilled. Why? Because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Oh my gosh, I can't pay my bills. Why? Because you're not being compensated the way you should. I mean, there are just so many other factors that are involved in that. So, knowing your worth has probably been the greatest um, discovery
mm-hmm,
also in this time period, and not being apologetic for it.
mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, for me, it's the fear factor. If I turn this down, will
Yeah.
something else come?
Hmm.
So even in
Mm-hmm.
publishing, we're making big transitions in some of the manuscripts we have received and working with, and
Mm.
because I felt like we had to take them
Mm-hmm.
all,
Mm-hmm.
don't want to
Mm-hmm.
be unbusy
Right. Right.
and so so it's that's an
Yeah.
important piece, and
If I may add a little business
yeah.
piece in there, something that sometimes businesses will do, because that is not a strange situation to be in when things are running a little low and you get a
Mhm.
little fearful about it. How do I
Mhm.
keep things moving, whether it's business, keep my family going, and we do from time to time may have to take something that's not at the optimum level.
Mm.
In some businesses, depending upon your operation, I've seen it very successfully done. Maybe you allow one client to have a reduced rate that keeps your business systems going, but then you make sure that you operate at your optimum with everyone else. So
Mhm.
you've got your base covered, but now you're not panicking that, oh my gosh, there's nothing coming in. But then you operate at your optimum in those other areas.
Mhm.
So you want to have that foundational piece there.
Yeah, are you listening, everybody? She's giving this away now. Come on, jump on it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that is so
Yeah.
valuable. It's so again, it's coming back to a little bit of the faith aspect, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
You're trusting in your purpose, the higher power, God,
Mm-hmm.
who has invested that purpose in
Yep.
you, is guiding the process. And don't
Mm-hmm.
panic.
Don't panic. Do
Don't
not panic.
mm,
You got to get creative.
keep talking to me. Keep talking. I need
Yeah,
this. I need this. Yeah.
yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, because it's the ebb and flow of everything, of business, of of systems of society, of ministry, whatever capacity you're in. I mean, we were just recently talking about sports. I mean, come on. The pieces are always moving. So, what do you do in those situations? You always want to strive for the best situation possible. And yes, sometimes we do have to accept maybe what's right in front of us, but always let it be strategic in that this is what I'm doing right now, but my eyes and my goals are much higher than this.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're traded to a team that you know is maybe not the optimum team,
Mm-hmm.
you can still come and be effective because that may not be your only source of revenue.
Mm-hmm.
That covers your base. But then
Mm-hmm.
why not look at some other opportunities in that market that you're in with other branding, other opportunities? Get involved in the local community. And you never
Mm-hmm.
know how that can translate.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen more, especially on the athletic side, I've seen athletes take like their base of what they would maybe they would definitely want more, but they've been able to take that and use that as a stepping stool to get into other
Mm-hmm.
business ventures. And
Right.
they get paid more externally than they get paid
Yeah,
internally.
when you're paying attention to who you are and what's going on internally and in your mind,
Yeah.
you're thinking about what you're thinking about. I know
Mm-hmm.
the 12 years ago when we started publishing, I just felt as a servant leader, I knew how to write
Mm-hmm.
and I knew how to produce a book. Therefore, I felt like I had a stewardship, I had a mandate, I had a responsibility to help other people do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ironically, I make more money from publishing than I do from writing my own books. But
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about that. But
Yeah.
this was being all in.
Mm-hmm.
I've taught a lot on servant leadership. You take your power and you empower other people. So I wanted to empower other writers. And
Mm-hmm.
ironically, and Africa's been so good to me in this process, but I just came out of West Africa staying with a man who he ended up signing on to do a book.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I have to have some money to develop the manuscript, and so he was very amenable to that, and it just tickled me, or it just made me so happy. But I went there just to help these other people
Sure.
do what they're doing there, similar to what I'm doing in the nation of Kenya. So that was my only
Yeah.
purpose to do that, and out of it comes
There you
the
go.
publishing,
Mm-hmm.
and out of it comes a potentially lucrative publishing
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. So but it all stems from I want to help other people write
Yep.
their books.
Yep.
But then the byproduct of it was, this 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 is pretty good, and
Yeah.
this works,
Yeah.
and so it was quite exciting, and
That's awesome.
yeah. So talk more. We've talked about it. Your purpose is now bringing the productivity of writing and
Mm-hmm.
creativity and podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us more about that. What is that? What does that represent for you? Did you ever see it as a possibility? What do you see the possibilities now of
Mm-hmm.
it taking place? Just
Mm-hmm.
how do you view it today? In 5 years, we'll look back when you're a mega seller and you've forgotten all about me, and we'll look at this interview and say it got started right here.
Oh my
But
gosh.
but anyway, how do you just
It's still very surreal because I've always seen myself as I'm in the audience cheering on
mm,
everybody else. And now somebody wants to slip and slide me up to the stage. It's like, that's so new,
yeah.
you know?
It's
Like
so
I shared.
surprising because you're so poised and you're so eloquent. But anyway, so it's
Oh,
it's a
well, thank you.
surprise.
It
Yeah.
is a surprise. This is all new. I'm telling you, it was such, my life shifted November 14th on my
Mm-hmm.
birthday when I had lunch with you.
Mm-hmm.
You did. You flipped my world
Mm.
because you showed me how all these different pieces of my purpose, how it could be encapsulated into the next level thing. And that's why it's so good for us to talk to others,
Mm-hmm.
experts in their field,
Mm-hmm.
because we can have the ingredients, but if we don't have the recipe to put that together, then we can't get the finished goods.
Mm-hmm.
And so that happened when you said, "Oh, you have an incredible story. You've been faithful over all these 30 years, staying on purpose,
Mm-hmm.
doing the pivots when you needed to. You just need to tell your story so others will know your story. They can see themselves in your stories, extract from it, and then they can be helped." So I'm like, okay, well, I don't care about the writing of a book and people knowing my name and stuff, but if this can help someone, then I'm all in.
Yeah.
What do I need to do?
Yeah. Why would we sit on something that could help? Well, I don't want to draw attention to myself.
That
or,
was me.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's a subtle change of thinking
It is.
that then changes our behavior,
It does.
and suddenly we notice opportunities that have probably been there, but our thinking
Yep. We were limited.
we limit.
I limited myself. But what I say now, it just wasn't my time.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's
Right,
time.
right.
And that's important too. Because sometimes, like you said, you can try to get ahead of time and it's going to be a mess.
Yeah, people have asked me like 20 some years ago when I started my first business, any regrets? I said, well, I regret I didn't do it earlier, but I wasn't ready. And I wish I would have been.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wish I did. And now I got to tell you this story. I'm in this West African nation just a couple weeks ago, and they said we're going to go see the oldest pastor in the country, and we're going to have him pray a blessing over what we're doing. So we're in the capital city, and Stacy, I think we're going to take a 15-minute drive. The next thing we're driving 2 hours.
Oh,
Well, I'm not happy. And I'm not happy with our hostess, although she's a wonderful woman. But she even said, I should ask more questions. I'm sorry. And we're going up, and so we go to see this man. And then he says, let me pray for you all. But he's mostly blind, so he hasn't seen us. And he's very, very old. I won't say how old because I couldn't verify it, but it's the oldest person I would have ever met. Anyway, the other people on the team kneel down. He's giving them, you're going to see your grandchildren, and he's praying real nice prayers and blessing them. I kneel down, and he says, work. He says, you're going to work. He said, go to America, go to the Americas, go to Africa. He said, God is with you.
wow.
And I said, go. And we just had so much fun with that. I said, everybody else gets these nice words, and you fool, now get up and work,
Go to work.
But that's who I am. I love it. I put long days in, not because I have to, I choose to. I get to. I like it. I love it. I embrace it. And that's a part of who I am.
Yeah.
And the last church we were in, the pastor's wife said to my wife, has he always been like this talking to me? And she said, I've known him since university.
Yeah.
He's always. So my point is, this has always been me. This has always been a part of who I am.
Yeah.
And so I'm still learning and growing and embracing.
Yeah.
And when he said work, hey, I know what work means. But no, when I started to study and meditate, I have come into new understanding of what the work is for me. Because when we think we understand the words, we miss what they get. So pivot, and we're going to close with this. We keep going back to that word of how important turning, starting over, shifting. As you said, 45 degrees, 75 degrees, 90 degrees,
Yeah.
180 going in the
Yeah.
opposite direction,
Yeah.
spinning around a couple times,
Yeah.
360
Yeah.
squared, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's really important because our awareness of who we are is going to continue to grow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so we're going to need to pivot.
You got to pivot. I mean, that's the only way to make this work. Yeah.
So I got to
Be
keep
flexible.
pivoting. I got to be flexible. Blessed
Yeah.
are the flexible; they shall not be bent out of shape.
Well, I mess up people and say, just remember the F word. And they're like,
Yeah,
it's like, well, flexible.
flexible.
That's
Yeah.
your F word. Be
All right,
flexible.
and that we can't end on a better word than that. So we're gonna stop right there. Can we do this again?
Absolutely.
Can
I'm
we?
having a blast.
Yeah, I
Thank
am
you.
too, and we hope you are.
Yeah.
And
I hope someone's being helped.
Yes, purpose,
Yes.
productivity, fruitfulness, commitment, all in,
Yeah.
pivoting. We've thrown a lot of words at you, but we're here to continue to help unpack them. And as we said, we want you to be helped as we have been helped with the message. And we're carriers of the message now. So we want you to be recipients of the benefits that we have enjoyed from it. So Stacy, thank you again
My pleasure.
for
Thank you.
being with you.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, whether listening or watching. And we promise we're going to come back again soon. So
Yeah.
we hope you'll join us.